But that sort of gets us into the next category of, so we've talked about people who have
Kind of
just broke
settled.
down and settled
Yeah.
inside the religion, but how about those who have broke down and just not married in the Lord? They marry out of the Lord, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, I can think of so many. I can think of a lot of people that way.
Yeah, but can you think of any out of the ordinary ones?
Well, just in our congregation of what here, like there's 30 publishers. I can think of several.
Yeah, I bet you there's. I mean,
Like
just
five,
off the
4 or
top of my head,
5?
there's 5. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, there's an elder sister who married her hairdresser.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is nice.
Very calm, whatever else. I think he studied with several people, but he's like, no, he sees the bull crap. He was treated like garbage, and
he made that one statement where we asked him, like, how come you just, don't come to the meetings or, commit? Because here you're married to a witness. Obviously, she talks to you about the Bible. Well, he says there's just some people that are really disrespectful. And he said it in such a nice way, but I knew exactly what he meant.
Yeah. And he was, yeah. And he wasn't talking about the average witness either, I can tell you.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. No.
And I could probably go back, and that goes into that. I mentioned that sister, I think I've explained this before, that I went on a shepherding call with.
Mm-hmm.
Only shepherding call I was ever on, and you'll see why. But we're in a shepherding call with her, trying to console her, encourage her for, because she's married out of the Lord,
mm-hmm.
and we're there trying to encourage her.
Should I do a little backstory on her too? Because she actually was married to a witness.
Yeah. So she could kind of go into that first category, who marries somebody without full knowledge of what they are.
They had a child, and then the husband just sort of went. I think he, faded. I don't know if he disassociated or was disfellowshipped or not. But anyway, he left her.
And she faded.
And then she was discouraged, so she faded. But then.
But not totally, just kind of out on the skirts type of a thing.
Never was disfellowshipped or anything. And then she met somebody just in the world. And then married that guy.
Yeah, we should say, though, in this, we're not defending marrying out of the Lord. And I say that in the context of the Bible. Really, no matter what religion you are, even if you're,
Catholic, you mean?
Catholic or and Lutheran. I mean, while they're close on a lot of beliefs, you don't have to worry about, like with witnesses, that celebrating Christmas or something. But people were killed for being heretics and apostates from Catholicism and disfellowshipped or excommunicated and killed for good old Martin's statement that he tacked to the door.
Martin Luther.
Yeah. So the whole point is that...
Is that his name, Martin Luther?
The whole point is that the differences in the religion caused strife to the point of death. If you are totally spiritual people or deeply involved in your religion as spirituality, those differences are going to end up showing up.
Mm-hmm. I think what makes it different, though, with witnesses or even Mormons probably can be in that group. I say group, but it's like if you're Catholic and you're married to somebody who is a Lutheran or somebody who is... It's just like, well, we'll go to church on Sunday. You can go to your church or whatever. We're going to go to church on Sunday and then just do whatever you want for the rest of the week. When you're a witness or you're a Mormon or you're part of a group like that, it's your way of life. Yeah. So every aspect of your life
revolves around it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think witnesses is even more so than Mormon. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
No, you're right, because you think about a lot of you talk about politics, you talk about religion, or as far as the holidays, you talk about so many of those things could create divisions in your household in that regard.
But as far as, there could be some divisions even if you're Catholic and married to somebody else, but they may not be as glaring because you don't have, maybe it's easier to compromise on something. I don't know.
And it depends on the depth of sometimes even the religions will cross over. Here, in fact, they have what's called ecumenical services. So you've got, and it was a big thing for a while because you'd have maybe a Lutheran pastor who now they the Lutherans split in half, and you've got a Lutheran pastor that's the one side that accepted homosexuality, and he's going to other churches maybe that don't accept that. So and they do that a lot here, just because there's the churches are smaller and they're spread apart, and there's a demand for
pastors,
the ministers.
Yeah.
But anyway, this sister that we were talking about, I'm in this shepherding call, and she reveals to us, well, they said there's no marriage in the new system. So I just felt, talk about desperation, desperate to get married. So I figured I better do it now if I want to be married. And I opened up the Bible and went on that same line of reasoning of where in the beginning, God made them male and female. Jesus is the one who retorted the Pharisees for that, for a point. He retorted to the Pharisees that scripture. Listen, is it not written that from the beginning he made them male and female? And for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will stick to his wife. So if God had that back then, before sin entered the picture, why wouldn't he do it now? And I was encouraging this sister, this is why you need to build your faith on the Bible, not some religious, not the Watchtower. And oh my God, the elder in that, you could see his face just, he was not happy. But I was exactly right.
Well, didn't he say we have a faithful slave?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I said that. Well, we have a faithful slave. You can have whatever you want with your evil slave. But, the bottom line is that you go for the scriptures. You're a faithful slave like Christ Jesus was if you go, it is written. It is written. Base your faith on this. Not 8 clowns who are claiming they're something when they're nothing, as the scripture says. Oh, man.
Yeah.
What happened to being a as the scripture says, good for nothing slave? That's all we are. And not having wisdom about yourself, or just, hey, Christ executed for you, build your faith. Thank you. Here's a couple things you might want to consider. Again, I have no problem with Witness being wrong, the Watchtower being wrong on anything. I have a problem with them forcing us to accept it without any question, without being able to do Romans 14:23 and prove our faith to ourselves. That scripture says that if you eat anything, spiritual food included, if you eat anything without faith, it's a sin for you. You better know why it is you're accepting whatever it is you're accepting. Anyway, that was the last shepherding call I ever did.
Yeah. And as far as I know, her relationship with her husband,
good.
She doesn't really talk about it, but you don't hear much strife between them. So.
Yeah. I mean, the most strife they have is their religion, and that it pissed me off too. I'm getting lit up here. But she needed help, and she specifically asked myself and that elder that we were sitting in with to go help them put their windows in their house because her husband couldn't do it himself. They had the windows there. They were all ready to put in. It's just he was concerned that he couldn't do it himself. And so she thought, what better witness than to have a couple of witnesses come up and do that? I kept harping on this brother that we should go up there and do that. No, never went and did it. It was just
too bad.
And we did,
Okay, let's stay on track here.
Yeah.
Okay, others that have settled. I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to think about this for a second.
Okay, I know one. There was a sister that liked me, so I know that she wanted to be married. I just wasn't interested. And I think she's still single, in fact. She's in that, she'd be about your age, I would say.
Now?
Yeah.
I think she's a few years older than me. Oh, yeah, I think she was probably 5 or 6 years older than me.
So she would be, at any rate, she would be one that was in that age group.
Yeah. You had a lot of girls that liked you,
Well,
There
yeah.
was this guy that fresh into the congregation.
Fresh out of the
like
dunk
fresh
tank.
meat.
Oh, you had a lot of guys that liked you too.
Yeah, but I was under lock and key.
That's true. I was just willing to kick down the door.
Yeah, but that's why you've got a lot more of those experiences. You know, like those 3 girls. You should tell that story. That's pretty good.
No, are you kidding me? All right. So, as we mentioned, I'm fresh out of the dunk tank. So these 3 girls from another congregation, they might have been from 2 different congregations. Anyway, they were friends, and we'd go out.
The 3 girls were friends with each other.
Yes, yeah. And I don't even remember how I got in contact with them. Anyway, probably doesn't matter. But they're like all 3 they're like very interested. One has like a few children, as I recall, and had just gone through a divorce or something like that. Very attractive sister still, so I mean that's not an issue. She was still very attractive, and all 3 of these girls were fairly attractive. I'm not saying I was interested. I wasn't. They were just friends. But anyway, we'd show up and we'd go out to whatever club, not necessarily dance clubs or whatever. Sometimes they would be, and it would usually be meet other witnesses for a drink or whatever like that. And so, because somebody had asked me if we'd ever experienced the drinking culture among witnesses, and I don't know that we ever have to a lot degree. I'd say that was my closest to
probably, yeah,
the drinking culture of witnesses.
Where you're going out and drinking and doing things maybe,
and that was more the event as opposed to alcoholism.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. I can't say, even to this day, I can't say that I ever witnessed anybody getting, I shouldn't say anybody. I can't say that during those circumstances I witnessed anybody getting totally blitzed. Maybe a little too tipsy, but not totally blitzed. I can't say anyone. This isn't a blanket statement, so I've got some other stories. But matter of fact, I ran a karaoke bar as the karaoke show at the local sports bar.
We talked about this in one of our very first videos, I think, right?
Did we? But during one of those nights, there were some witnesses that would come in and sing karaoke. Well, one of them, after the elders had come in and done their whole, we did talk about that, done their whole checkup and spy to make sure nothing's going wrong here, type of a thing. There happened to be a witness that was coming in, and she was on the skirts. Anyway, and she'd been, I'm trying to remember her whole story. Anyway, she hung out with a girl that would marry a guy, bring him into the truth,
bring him in the congregation,
divorce him, go marry another guy, bring him into the witnesses, divorce him. I mean, like we said, this happened like 3 times. She's friends with this woman, so just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's in there and she's just plastered. And she's like coming back behind the counter and she's slurring her words and whatever else. And I don't even know what she's talking about. But whatever, she's like getting in my face about it's her turn to sing, or I don't even remember what the problem was. And I'm just like, you need to calm down and go sit down. I don't care if you're a witness or not. I'll kick you out of here. Just go calm down. If I've done a mistake, I'll try and fix it, whatever it was. Anyway, she wouldn't do it. She was slurring, and then she pushed me or went to slap me, and I'm like, that's it. You're out of here. And, then drag her out. That's it. So that's one of the experiences of a witness getting drunk. And she ended up getting reproved for that. I think later on she got DF'd.
Wow. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Anyways, but that was kind of a crazy group. And
the 3 girls.
Yeah, but I've got to tell this one more story about the girl with it brought all the people into all the men and as witnesses. So she comes up to me one time, and we've got a convertible. It's an 83 convertible. It's got an 87 and up. It's a Mustang convertible. It's got a body kit on it. Looks like an 87 updated. So it's got a little bit older motor, it's pretty hot as far as.
It's got glow-in-the-dark flames, nitrous.
Yeah, and I'm just talking about the motor. It's a 12-second car, so that's
okay.
That's pretty respectable for a street car. Anyway, cackles like a stinking Harley. It really does. It's just there's straight pipes on it with just glass packs. Anyway, it's really loud. Anyway, I come rolling in one day in that car to go out service, and the CO we had at the time was pretty cool. Matter of fact, he had a peg leg because he lost it in a motorcycle wreck. Anyway, he comes running out the door looking for the Harley. And he's like, "Oh, you fooled me there. I thought it was a bike." He was a pretty cool guy. Anyway, he's the one who, matter of fact, it was an elders meeting. And I went to walk in, and they're coming out of an elders meeting with the CO. And he says, as he was walking out, he says, "Whose week is it? Anyway, this is John's week." That was his first name. So
your tangents are like Paul-like here. Come on.
I've got to finish this. But that's the one where the elders walk out and say, "Oh, well, he's going to be gone," because he was recommending that they break up their little elder body pact and move to different congregations. And they told him, "Well, he's going to be gone next week, so we're not going to listen to him."
It's a good recommendation. We're not going to listen to him. Okay,
yep.
Come on. We got to rein this back.
Anyways, this sister, the one that brought these guys in the same meeting, comes up to me and says, "Oh, I rode my hog today." And I'm like, "Oh, you got a hog?" I'm thinking she's got a Harley.
Lord.
I walk out there, and it's this little stand-up moped with a milk crate literally bungee corded to it so she could sit on it. I'm like, "Oh, that's your hog, huh?" Okay.
The three sisters.
Back on track.
Oh my God. I hope you guys are having beer with us. I'm having beer. Root beer. Not beer.
I was going to say, no, you're not. Anyway, I barely even tapped into my wine. Look at that. All right.
Three sisters.
Three sisters. They're over at my place. We would go out occasionally. All three of them show up together. And here I am, newly dunked witness. And they're already had a few drinks in them. And they are like hanging all over me. I mean, and I'm just like, what in the heck is going on here? As I'm ready to leave. And I'm like, let's go knock on the door.
There was a knock on the door.
There's a knock on the door. It's my stepdad. Mind you, the one who said to me, when I started studying with witnesses, he said, "Uh-oh, the witnesses across the street," and I happen to be studying with witnesses, Seventh-day Adventist Mormons at the exact same time. And anyway, I said, "Yeah, you wouldn't want to learn anything." So here he shows up. So I'm trying to witness to him here and occasionally. And these three chicks are like hanging all over me. I don't remember what he was doing, dropping off something, maybe some keys to his truck I was working on. Or so. I have no idea remember what it was. But he's like, "Well, I better get out of here." And I'm like, no. I'm like, "No, I'm leaving." And I'm like, "Oh,
he said, "It looks like you've got your hands full."
Right. Oh, my goodness. And it did get ridiculous. I mean, I think I went out a couple more times with those girls, and I mean, we'd be, it's like, "Oh, let's go out and dance." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll go out and dance." And I'm not, because I was sort of prude in that way. I was not going to lead on anyway. So I would not dance with a girl that I did not have intentions or interest in. So, because I didn't want to lead anybody on. And
but you're out there in a group dance.
But yeah, so it's like, let's all go out and dance type of a thing. And before I know it, I'm feeling like the two guys that are on SNL. Because these three chicks have got me surrounded. And they're like bumping and grinding on me. And I'm like, what is going on here? say I didn't go out with them very much any longer, and it's probably a good thing because it ended up being a huge deal.
Each one of them had their own little
yeah, one of them
situation.
ended up disfellowship later on. I think there was something with one of them with a couple of sisters that turned gay and.
Okay. That's a totally different situation.
Oh, is it a different one? But
no, I mean this. We could go on about these stories. We got to stick with one subject here, you know.
Yeah, there was just that group. That was part of that group. That were not those three sisters, but just that group. Anyway.
But I guess the point is that these three sisters, you had your pick on whoever you wanted, and out of desperation, you could have picked one of those sisters if you really. I mean, it's not like you didn't have opportunity. You could have picked one of them.
Yep. And the one sister got her life together, and she ended up marrying a brother of mine.
After a while, yeah.
After a while, and the other one, I don't know what happened to her, but. And again, I'm not ripping on them. They're very attractive. They were just.
And you were of that age bracket of being 25 and older. And I know there's not a sister like the email had stated, but
could have easily fallen into that trap of desperation. Matter of fact, I wrote about that. Being in the world and narrowing yourself down to literally 1% of the population as a witness.
Yeah.
And then that population is spread throughout the globe. You know, it's not like you get together and you're in a colony, you know, and then you've got all these rules of the dating game that you have to follow, like going to an elder, with his talk till you can meet sisters, so that way he can, you know, sponsor you. So I mean that whole game I could have easily settled.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I knew what I wanted, and Jehovah blessed me. I found it.
I just feel like I'm just trying to think of some of those people and sisters in specific that. Like, are they really in a desperate situation? Because a lot of times, like, I think of sisters that are, like, in their 30s or 40s and they're pioneering, never been married. They're telling everybody and putting on that persona that they're living the best life ever.
Yeah, and a lot of times those are, like, the pioneers.
Exactly.
They're serving in some sort of capacity.
Exactly.
And they've got to keep up that theocratic assignment that they're doing and make it look good.
And it keeps them busy, too, so...
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little distracted with, you know, their ministry work. And so I guess one of the glaring ones that I think of in that way, a sister that was older. There was this one sister that my family knew from Virginia. They met at an international convention, and they became pretty close. But they go visit her like once a year or so. Anyway, I'm not going to say her name, but I will say this, that her first and last name started with an A. And so she was the first one that graduated from Gilead.
Also called the Watchtower Bible College, because, you know, unlettered and ordinary, of course.
Yeah, that's a totally different situation. We'll talk about that in another video. Anyway, before she went to Gilead, I think the way that the story was explained to me, she was starting a relationship with this brother, and it was, again, this is like in the 40s, so, you know, you're friends, and back then among Jehovah's Witnesses, the numbers were way smaller than they are today, and so you just learn to meet people, and some of them could be like important people, like yucky yucks in the organization, so to speak. So she started this relationship with this brother, and I think she said it was Henschel. I'm 90% sure it was Milton Henschel. They were both interested in each other, but they were strongly encouraged not to get married. So they would be like in their early 20s at this time.
And by the way, that was pretty much Watchtower policy back then. Never mind 1 Timothy, teaching of demons.
Mm-hmm. So they broke it off, and so she went on to Gilead, and she went into missionary work. She learned Spanish and went to a Spanish-speaking country. And then Milton Henschel, if I'm correct, and I'm almost positive this is who it was.
Well, he's the one who ended up as Noah's right-hand man.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Then he claimed he was anointed. And then, coincidentally, the same year, he's appointed as the Watchtower director. Mm-hmm. And then a member of the governing body.
Yep. Yeah.
And when you're at the top, hey, you can do what you want, even rewrite the rules if need be. So I'm pretty sure that he even got married later on to somebody else anyway.
Yeah, I think his life story says he married somebody else. But that doesn't stop the damage that's already been done. So this sister, like I said, she'd been a missionary, pioneered for many years, but never married. But she put out there in public, that she's living the best life ever.
So that's pretty much what you have to do if you want to maintain your JW Glory status.
I would say you could go read her story in the Watchtower, but just before they were going to publish her story, someone heard that she was being interviewed. Betha was interviewing her for her story, and they leaked that, and so her story got canceled. They weren't going to publish it now.
Oh, you can't have someone speak about the glory that we are going to give you before we do. We will be the first to break every glory story.
So publicly, she would say things like, later on, like, I'm living the best life ever. We serve the happy God. There are no regrets. But privately, she always felt like she wishes that she would have gotten married. Like, she could have done both, really. I could have served in a really nice capacity, had a nice ministry, and still had a family and gotten married, But, they tell you the end is coming, and, don't get married. They'll change the rules, and they'll have control over you. They'll manipulate anything to control your life. And
meanwhile, those that are disobedient, they get the blessings of being married, disobedient to the Watchtower.
Right.
They get the blessings of being married, and then the Watchtower just changes the rules later on. It's just...
Yeah. So she passed away just a few years ago, and never was married. I want to say she was close to 100 years old. And here she'd spent her whole life in the organization and has done a lot for the organization. But, that control over her life, she regretted that.
Yeah.
Especially especially at that time where, like I had mentioned, the end is just around the corner. The end is just around the corner. And then when you're older and you never marry, it's like, well, I could have done that. The end hasn't come. The end hasn't come. I could have had a really nice life.
Yeah, mind you, these are all things that the Bible, it encourages singleness. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't pressure you for it. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Paul said, let them marry.
Yeah.
If they've got that desire, let them marry. Now, if you don't, hey, all the better. Don't pressure them to get married either. So, yeah, sorry we don't have a whole bunch of experiences in that regard. I just don't, I can't think of anybody. Most of them broke rank, and they've gotten married out of desperation in one form or another.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's too bad. I think sometimes people will get married and then they just make the best of the situation. Sometimes they settle, sometimes they marry out of desperation, but I think...
And that's, to me, that's no different than the world in general.
It is.
And it reminds me, and by the way, it reminds me that you used to say, never mind, you could probably roll into this, the doctrine or the pressure not to marry. But they used to say that, I remember a convention, the brother giving the part, and I've heard it more than once, where the brother gives the part and he says, we used to be able to say that we had a better, rate than the percentage than the rest of the world as witnesses about divorce, and now we can't say that anymore. So they recognize that they're no better off. And the reason why is because they don't let people marry out of God's principles.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Bible. You should be able to do a better job vetting your spouse. Not that somebody can't mislead you, but by using those principles and getting to know the person really intimately, you can a lot of times vet that out.
But it's different with Watchtower because they control every little aspect.
Wait, and that's the difference between the Bible and the Watchtower, and that's why they're having these problems. Would you agree that back then, and I'm not saying I agree with all their doctrines or anything like that, back then they had less control over what you as a person were going to do and how you as a person were going to apply the Bible into your life?
What do you mean back then? Like back in the 40s? Or
before they... systematically stole your family from you if you didn't follow every little thing they say.
Yeah.
Before Knorr, there was no disfellowshipping policy. In the 40s, it was talked about how that's a satanic excommunication, which is what disfellowshipping is a satanic thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, because I think that something changed in the organization when Knorr became president, and some of those people that were, assisting Knorr or whatever. I'm not saying that Rutherford didn't have his, I don't know what you'd call it.
Faults.
Well, I don't know if you can call it faults, but just sort of like a dominion type of personality.
Yeah. But again,
Knorr was a different caliber to, I'm going to micromanage your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like that's where rules really started to pick up.
Yeah, and I think I like a lot of the things that and he gets a bad rap for it, Rutherford, for a lot of the things he implemented, like singing. They'll talk about how he removed singing in the congregations. Well, yeah, because they're singing a bunch of songs from Christendom that don't necessarily go along with beliefs. I mean, you're starting to, talk about despising small beginnings. You've got a small group of people for the most part, and you've just went through never mind how he got control of the Watchtower Society with the legalistic blah blah blah, the legal games. Judge Rutherford, you think he didn't know how to legally get the upper hand in that? So by Watchtower standards, Rutherford has a higher education and used that to gain control of the Watchtower, which dictated its direction in the future. Interesting. So you're saying that he used un-JW means to get control and control the... At any rate, I don't necessarily, however it came about, disagree with the fact that he had, even if it was crazy. I think the whole idea of Russell and the whole pyramid thing is quack. It smacks of like Washington, D.C. being designed in the occult, and how, look at the streets and how they're made up. The whole town of Washington, D.C. is made up of a pentagram and the Masonic symbol and whatever else. And I'm not a big conspiracy theory. It's just fact. Go look it up in the U.S. Library, Congress Library.
And you can just look right down on Google.
Yeah.
Google Maps and just see how it looks.
Yeah, Google it. It'll show you. Yeah. Anyway, but the point is that I don't have to agree with it. You can have all the crackpot ideas you want. Russell also talked about in the divine plan of the ages, he talked about they're trying to understand the Bible in the context of their own world around them. And he talked about, I don't remember which one it was. Was it he was making a description of something, and he compares it to a steam train, that's barreling through the mountains, and it's like, it's just crackpot. What do they call that in psychology when you apply something to your own life? It's some sort of perception. Anyway, you apply what it is you're reading to your own life and your own understanding, and that's what a lot of it is. But nobody was required to believe it back then. Nobody was required to believe everything that Rutherford said. All of a sudden at Knorr, now you are required to believe what we believe, because that's the implementation of it, or at least that's the beginning of the implementation of it. It probably really didn't start kicking in full until later on with the whole Franz thing.
Yeah.
To where if you say anything against us, it's apostasy. We are now North Korea. It's religion is government, and we will be doing a video about that at some point.
Good.
But I think that's probably, again, sorry, we don't have a whole lot of those experiences to draw from.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. But maybe if we thought a little bit about it, we could come up with more, but that's what we've got right now.
Yep.
Until next time, enjoy the vlog of our re-roof on our house.
So it's about 9 in the morning, and we are going to work on this side today. Tiffany's already up there. tearing off. But I'll take you for a walk up the top here. It's an old tire I need to throw away that I just brought down from the shop. We needed to pull out of the back of the truck. It's going to be a mess down here for a couple of days. We just want to get it tore off while the weather's somewhat decent. Damp on the roof this morning still.
Harness on? Why don't you have your harness on?
I still need to get it on. Gotta come up and take a peek quick.
Oh. Am I on camera?
You are. Oh.
This is what I call fun.
Good times. But we got that all dried in. This is day what? 5? 6?
5, yeah.
We tore this off on one day, papered it the next, and we tore that off. And then we tore this off, then papered it yesterday. Now it's time to tear the rest of this
I
off.
think we can get all this done today. I don't know how long it will take us, but...
Yeah, hopefully it's not gonna rain today. It's about what, 9 a.m.?
Yeah.
It was looking a little dark over that way, but I don't think that's rain. Position myself differently here. And there's the house that we just got done finished doing. Right there. Now we'll have to figure out something fancy to do with the ridge here. Huh?
Sorry, did you get that piece of ridge down?
I did.
Good.
You need to pull that one behind you too.
Yeah, well, I'm doing this section.
Yeah.
This is loose here, and I think that is just the only thing that's holding this section on. So when you start with your fork, you should be able to get this in no time.
Right. Okay, well, I'm gonna go grab my harness and I'll get to it. Tiffany's just using the bar. It's easier for her to handle.
Well, I usually do like little detail junk and, you know, valleys and edges, and I can't use the fork is heavy enough to handle, so.
I took a fork and the handles break when you use them. You pry up on the roofing and you end up breaking the wood handles. And you can see by the bow in that how you end up bending the bow, the bar even, as you're, I don't know if you can see that or not, the bow in it. But actually that ends up working really well for leverage. So that bend is actually a good thing.
But I'm just talking about the weight of the equipment.
Yeah, but it makes it heavier.
Even a nail gun or whatever, it's like the weight of the equipment is hard. I'm only 100 pounds, so I can only handle so much weight.
I've seen you push Cadillacs, don't give me that.
Yeah, but that's just a sprint, you know. When you're doing a marathon run of doing something like this, you'll wear out so fast.
All right.
Hurry up, get to work.
Yeah. So it's about, what, 11?
I don't know.
11:30? You got that tore off and been doing some detail stuff. You got that ripped off over there. Oh man. She's been taking off that ridge cap right there. But we're about done. It's a flurry of activity. All that's left right here is this off the edge. Down that valley and this valley to the turret. But there's a flurry of activity. That house right there is getting a new shop / garage. Neighbors over here where that blow off was, they're getting theirs done.
Will you be able to throw this ridge down?
Yep, I'll just chuck it off the roof.
Because if I throw it it and it breaks, then I get in trouble. If you throw it up and it breaks,
then I get in trouble. And I yell at myself. And you yell at me. But it's amazing, some of these boards are really big. Like this one here is like, looks like 16 across. But some of them have been even bigger than that, like maybe 18 or 20 wide.
Can I lower this? You want me to put it on this valley or this valley?
Doesn't matter.
Where are you going to start working?
Where am I going to start working?
Are you going to start back on the
Yep, I'm just going to jump on the other side of that ridge and start over there, and then I'll start nailing off too. Once I get that torn off.
I think I'll just keep going this way.
Yep.
It's really scary when you get out of that place.
Yeah, it's a long way down. It's even worse over there. Alrighty, well, I'm going to put this down and start working. It's 1 o'clock. We're having lunch right now. Well, I am. He just finished his, and now he's welding on this metal piece to the drip edge, and I'll show you why. When we tore off the house yesterday, our yard looks like horrid. I'm trying to clean up, but if you can see on the edge, there's a big gap right there. That all has to be filled. I'm not very good at explaining this, and the camera's zoomed way, but let me see if I can point right here where the gap is. It needs to be closed off because the shingles have to come all the way out to this trim. So we need to have a filler in there, so we're putting that metal with the drip edge all the way to the side. So it's filled in, but he's already got a piece of ice and water and started to do some shingling just to get it started, so that way when we do actually start shingling, it's already started and ready to go. We can just work. There's not a lot of detail to do. It's just shingle. But yeah, we got the whole thing torn off except for a tiny little, like above the stairs, there's like a tiny little section right there. Right there, you can kind of see it. It's just really small. And then the turret. Everything else has been torn off. Just an update video from the top of the world. Kind of pretty up here this morning. A little bit of hoarfrost. Not big thick ones. It was foggier this morning. Some of it's fallen off by now, but it's starting to warm up. Today is supposed to be a high of like 38, so a little cooler, but the wind really isn't blowing as hard. I'm sure that just gave you a blast of wind, but I'll face the other direction. But now we're drying this section in. We got all that dried in yesterday. Down there. But so it's just this left, the ridge there, and then back this way, that section over there. But very pretty morning. I'm not looking forward to that. I might buy a dang hoist, buy a lift. That thing's tall. I'd be hanging about. I'd have to put a tow board probably halfway up it in order to do that. Not fun. And if I got a hoist, then I could do the chimney, because I don't know how I would repair a chimney. It just needs grout in the middle of the bricks and stuff, but otherwise I have no idea how I would get up that tall. I mean, that's a good 12 feet off the roof line. Anyway, back to work. So, have you ever worked on a 3-story Victorian in the dark? Because we have. We've got 2 more pieces of ice and water to put on. He's got one of them, I gotta cut the other. And hopefully all we have left tomorrow is to just do some metal, like drip edge and gutters and, you know, little detail junk like that. There's a chance of rain tomorrow afternoon. This is such a good time.
not a good time. But it needs to be done before it gets too cold. Tomorrow's supposed to be pretty nice. I think it said 51, but a chance of rain in the afternoon. Cloudy, of course. But the wind finally died down. Don't see anything moving. It's wonderful. It's so nice out. It's so wonderful. I started another little fire, or Chad, I guess, started a little fire. You can't see it anyway. So that's been really nice atmosphere. Not that I really needed it, but it was comfortable to walk up to next to a couple times just to get warmed up for a second. So I better get the last measurement, and Chad will give you another update probably.
Windy out today, but I got flame ones up there now, and so now they kind of sparkle, or flicker I should say. Can't really tell, but they're orange in real life.
We took a break about, I don't know, not quite a week, 5 days maybe, so that way we could get these cars, you know, you'll see that video too, but it's warm enough today to where it's like mid-30s for about 3 or 4 days in a row, which is almost unheard of for late November. But we've got this side, try to hold this camera with one hand. We've got this side done now, all the way through the valley up to this, where the ridge goes into the roof. And this side's done all the way up too. And now we're gonna do this flat section all the way up. But I wanted to give a quick update. Chad's getting ready to move the ladder jack that he's standing on, and he's gonna put it right above this ladder. And I'm starting to get cold, so I wanted to take a break, so I thought I'd just do a quick video, quick update. But it's coming together. Our shingles, we had to order some more shingles, and they should be here pretty soon. I would say within the next week, I'm hoping. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty nice out. We don't have much snow still, which is really great. I'm actually standing out on the property line. But you can see how much snow we've got. Our pond is still going. But yeah, we don't have much. Not much at all. But by Sunday, like today is Thursday, Turkey Day. By Sunday, it's supposed to be a low of 9, which is not good. That's not roofing weather. We can't even hardly stand it. But we've done it before. We're not going to do it again. But that's it. I'm not sure what he's doing, but it's the next day, Friday. Yeah, today's Friday. And it's so nice out. We don't hardly have any wind. It's about, I don't know, mid to high 30s. I'm not sure exactly, but it feels pretty nice. And I've just been loading shingles up there for him, right up here. And I just took a break for about 10 minutes, and I had a cinnamon roll, and it was so good. But anyway, what we've done today is this flat. He finished last night all the way up to the top of this, and it's hard for me unless I climb the ladder to show you. But the flat that goes like that, and then this valley on both sides, he's almost completed that. So all we have now on this side is, besides the turret, which we won't do until we get a lift or next year, like in the spring, I mean. Sorry. This valley all the way across, but only like maybe 10 feet from the top. That's what we have left. And we'll have all the detailed side done, which is
a really nice feeling, because then all we have left is 2 big valleys on the other side. So we're not doing too bad for roofing this in the winter. But it's about, like I said, I don't know if I said, it's about 3:30. So we only have about an hour, maybe hour and 20 minutes left of daylight. Oh, my friend is back. They come here twice a day. About 9, 10 o'clock when I'm waking up, they come to the feeder. It's right there, that sorry, I'm losing my voice. That green-lidded feeder. They jump up there and they eat all the seed down, and we get birds, and it's a nice place because I have a chair right there by the window and I get to watch them all year long. How you doing, little guy? It's Chip and Dale. There's 2 of them actually. Him and his sibling, I think. I think they were born in our yard. Actually, I think they were born in our house. We had a little spot up front that we fixed. I don't know if we showed you that or not, but I think they were born there because we had to raid them out earlier in the season when we were tearing off. They just stick around. This is their home. We have lots of trees and places for them to be. They just can't live in our house, so we've kicked them out. But they're so cute. They're just so cute. So I don't know if Chad has mentioned through our I don't know if Chad has mentioned through our videos or not, if he said, but we moved into this place in 2006. So we've lived here almost 15 years, and we have not done anything to the outside. Like, we haven't roofed it, no paint, no windows. We haven't had anything like that to really fix. But now all the paint, like you can see, the paint is really chipped off on the windows. And I think some of that was already like that, and they just painted anyway, because we didn't get a loan for this house. So, you know, there was no, what do you call it, appraisal needed or whatever. What? Oh. He just threw something, and I don't know if I can't remember what's going on with it. There we go. I don't know what I was just saying, but we haven't done any work to this place, and so the last maybe 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, I've really started noticing some wear and tear on the outside. Shingles blowing off in the yard, like I said, a lot of paint flaking off. So we are doing the roof. Hopefully we can finish it this year. If not, then we'll just finish it in the spring. But in the spring we'll also, like spring to summer, we'll also do the trim, and there's a few windows that need to be, there's a window on the other side, like a storm window, that needs to be put on. Just things like that. And then we have all these bricks, yard bricks, because we're going to do some landscaping just like we did at the other place. Don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. Yeah, that's bright. So, oh, I better be careful. He'll run away. Oh, he's going to climb the ladder. Let's see if I can get him to go up there. There he goes. Chad.
Okay, I had to share the sunset up here tonight. Unbelievable. That does it no justice at all. fabulous. We've been having gorgeous weather. Like, it's 36 out here, but it feels warmer than that. It's unbelievable how pink that is. Yeah, it's funny, the highs have been in the 40s, and yet when you I wonder if there's a way you can get that right. The colors doesn't look like it, at least not through a phone. But the highs have been in the 40s, you know, just around low 40s. It's not melting anything much though, but got these flicker lights up here that are solar. They're pretty cool. It's funny, if they're not on, you just darken them up a second. Just phenomenal sunset. Well, it's an absolutely beautiful day today again. For, what's the date today? December the 5th, and it's supposed to be 40 all week again. But we got this section finished up here as far as we could because we're out of shingles now. And we got all the valleys cut on this other side. I have to go out in the street even to see it. This is great weather considering that we could usually, or we could very often be in minus 30-degree temperatures very easily. But that valley is, the valleys are cut up here now. We used two colors on that. I don't know if it shows up there. Did a custom blend. But again, the valley is cut over here. All done. Both those valleys. So the only thing on this side really is just the turret. So we're out of shingles though. The shingles are on back order. So now we're gonna work on getting these cars and all squared away.